record it. And today's the 16th. We got 9, 16, 20. And we're going to start off slope and equation of lines. Slope and equations. Slope and equations of lines. All right, slope of a line. Slope is equal to, that's rise over run. All right, that's one thing that's equal to. I'm going to give you 3 different things that slope is equal to. It's also equal to y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And it's also equal to vertical change divided by horizontal change. You guys know that, right? Been doing slopes since you were in what, 4th grade? You've been doing slopes since you were like what, 2? No. With your Crayola crayons, you're just doing slope of lines? No. All right. So look, whether you're given the points for a line or you're given a graph of the line, you should be able to find the slope. So if we're going to find the slope, and we got your XY axis, and the line maybe goes like this. Well, then what you do is you find points on the line. And maybe we got one point that's at -1, -2, and the other point is at 3, 3. And I just like to remember or remind you to label your points. Here's my x1 and y1. Here's my x2 and y2. And if I have to find the slope of this line, I can say that the slope equals. Now look, when any of your values are negative, be careful, because the formula says y2 minus y1. So if our y2 is 3 minus whatever y1 is, we're subtracting a negative here. So it's 3 minus -2. And then it's 3 minus -1 in the denominator. And when you're subtracting a negative, what do? You just add, don't you? Or you keep change, change, and you keep change, change. So we get 5 over 4. And if you look at this line, if you put your pencil on the bottom point, right, and you go vertically, I'm going from -2 to 3, so how many did I go up? -2 to 3, how many did I go up? 5. And then if you go horizontally to the next point, I went from -1 to 3, so I went 4. Didn't I just form a right triangle? Okay. So there's a lot going on there in that graph, but here's your slope. And if the line is on a graph and you just want to count the rise and then count the run, that's fine, go ahead. I would do that before I would do the formula. Okay, you're going to get the same number. It's rise over run. Just, if you can, simplify it. Yes, questions? Got that? All right, a couple other things you need to You've probably, I don't know, my screen's not moving. Here we go. We got positive slope. Positive slope, those lines, they always go. They always go up and to the right. We're going to say up and right. Negative slope. Which way do they go? I like to be consistent, all right? Everything goes up. So if positive goes up and to the right, negative goes up and to the left. So I just say up and left. And then we got two other slopes. We got 0 and undefined slope. Come on, let's go. Let's see. Here we go. Here's a horizontal line. What's the rise in a horizontal line? 0, isn't it? Doesn't it only run? So if slope is rise over run, this would be like 0 over, a number, isn't it? There's no rise to it. So if you took your calculator and typed in 0 divided by 2, all right, what does it say? It says 0. So 0 slope is a horizontal line. Those are always y equals a number lines. Horizontal lines. If you see an equation that says y equals a number, y equals 1, y equals 6, y equals a number, it's a horizontal line. Because if this value right here was 6 on the y-axis, then the equation for this line would be y equals 6. And the opposite to that would be what type of line? Vertical lines. So vertical lines the slope, the vertical line has all rise, doesn't it? Does it have any run? So say it rises 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't matter. However many points you want to rise to get on this line or stay on this line. If I rise 2, I run 0. I rise 2, I run 0. Rise 2, run 0. I got 0 run. Type into your calculator 2 divided by 0. It says error, doesn't it? Error is the same as undefined. Undefined slope. That is a vertical line. These lines are always x equals. And they are x equals wherever the line hits the y-axis or the x-axis. So in this case, let's say this is -5. -5 right here. The equation for this line is x equals -5. Because everywhere you go on that line, x is equal to -5. Everybody all right with that? Okay. Let's see. So we found the slope. Parallel and perpendicular lines. We're going to say this. This is real important. Parallel lines have the same slope. Parallel lines have the same slope. If two lines are parallel to each other, then their slopes are the same. Parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. Parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. And just regular old intersecting lines, they just have different slopes. Okay? They just got different slopes. So you're going to be asked questions like, determine whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So let's do this. We're going to determine whether the lines are, what's the symbol for parallel? Just like that, right? Determine whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. And they give you line AB that has A at 1, 1, and B is at -1, -5. And line CD, has points on it, C, which is 3, 2, and D, which is at 6, 1. So if we're going to determine whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither, we're going to find the slopes of those two lines. Agreed? We're going to find the slopes of the two lines. We're going to compare the slopes, and that's going to give us the relationships of the two lines. So we're going to find the slope of this first line. And the slope is equal to -5 minus 1 divided by -1 minus 1. What's negative 5 minus 1? Good, negative 6. And negative 1 minus 1? Negative 1 minus 1, that's negative 2. And negative 6 divided by negative 2 is 3. So then the slope of this second line, we got 1 minus 2, 6 minus 3. 1 minus 2, negative 1. 6 minus 3, 3. So the slope of our first line is 3, or 3 over 1. Agreed? There's the slope of the first line. The slope of the second line is negative 1/3. Are they parallel, perpendicular, or neither? First of all, are the slopes the same? No. So they are not parallel. Are the slopes negative reciprocals of each other? Negative reciprocals, right? The fraction is flipped, and it has a different sign. So the negative reciprocal of 3 over 1 is negative 1/3. So what are the two lines? What are they? They're perpendicular, aren't they? Right here. Perpendicular. Slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. And when the slopes are negative reciprocals, the lines are perpendicular. All right, you guys good with that? Let me check one more thing. All right, let's do one or two more examples, and then I'll give you some practice to do. A couple more problems I haven't seen yet. Yeah, come on in. All right, here we go. We're going to graph the line. Graph the line that contains point A, which is at negative 3, 0, and is perpendicular to line CD with C at negative 2, negative 3, and D at 2, 0. Graph the line that contains A, negative 3, 0, and is perpendicular to CD with C at negative 2, negative 3, and D at 2, 0. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to graph the line that I know I can graph, okay? So if we take this coordinate plane, here's our X, here's our Y. We're going to put point C on it, which is at negative 2 and negative 3. Here's point C. Point D is at 2, 0. So here's point D. And here's this line. That's your line CD. Does everybody agree with that? We're going to graph a line that contains A, which is at negative 3, 0. So let's go to negative 3, 0. Here's negative 3, 0. And isn't this point A? But what we got to do is we got to determine the slope for line A, don't we? And doesn't the slope for line A, or the line that goes through A, have to be the negative reciprocal of line CD? So let's look at our rise and our run for the first line. So slope of line CD equals what? What's the rise right here from point C to point D? What is our change in Y? 3. We went up 3, didn't we? What's our change in X? We went from negative 2 to positive 2. 4. So there's our slope of line CD. Agreed? Positive 3/4. The line's going up and to the right, so it's got a positive slope. Our rise was 3 and our run was 4. So now we need the slope. Ooh. Slopo. This computer is slopo today. We still got slopo. What's the slope of the other line got to be? Negative 4/3, doesn't it? Very good. The slope of the perpendicular line needs to be the negative reciprocal of the line that it's perpendicular to. Oh, come on, pen, please. Jesus, this is annoying. Slope of perpendicular line. That's going to be equal to negative 4/3. So if you go back now to the point that you plotted, negative 3, 0, how many are we going to rise from this point? We're going to rise 4. We're going to rise 4, so we rise 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many are we going to run? So we're going to run left. Agreed? So we're going to run to the left. 1, 2, 3. So here's the second point on that line. Because here's our rise of 4, our run of 3. But we run to the left when the line has a negative slope. So then here's our other line. Right here. And these two would intersect at 90 degrees. Does that make sense to you guys, or is that too much? You just have to remember things kind of sequentially. And when you read the question, if you're a little bit confused about the question, just start doing one thing at a time. It says graph the line that contains A at negative 3, 0. Okay, we'll put A, plot it. And is perpendicular to CD with these 2 points. So plot those 2 points. Put a line through them. Now you know that you're looking for something perpendicular to the black line. So it's got to be going in this opposite direction, doesn't it? And it's got to go through this right here. And then you think to yourself, it's got to be perpendicular. So the slope of my new line has to be the negative reciprocal of the original line. So if that's the case, I got to find the slope of the original line, right? And then you can determine the slope of the second line. Okay, any questions from you guys at home?
No.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to give you some practice problems. And we're going to do page 35, 1 through 14. And that's all I'm going to give you for today, because what I want you to do, if you didn't get yesterday's notes, right now, I want you to get on your phone, or if you got a device with you, and I want you to go on YouTube, and I want you to get yesterday's notes right now. You got enough time to get them before the bell rings, because I think yesterday's notes were about 31 minutes. So put your earbuds in, get your notes out, get yesterday's notes from YouTube. You can worry about this assignment after you have yesterday's notes. If you've got yesterday's notes, then all you got to do are these workbook problems today, and you got to zoom in or show up again tomorrow. Clear? All right, if nobody has any questions, then I'm going to end this meeting in 7 seconds. Five, 6, 7.